Alright, it's out. The Super Mario Brothers movie is out. People have seen it. If you haven't seen it yet, don't worry. A lot of this review will be spoiler-free. So actually, let me quickly go into that. Let me quickly go into how this video is going to be structured, because it's going to be structured a particular way, so that you kind of know what parts of this video you should watch and what parts you shouldn't, depending on how much you want to know about the movie before watching it, or if you have already watched it, then you can just watch this whole video and it'll be fine. So, right now we're in the introduction phase of this video. The next phase is absolutely no spoilers, not even mentioning anything really of the plot. You know, just kind of how I generally feel about the movie and if you will enjoy it. Then we're gonna go into not really spoiler territory, but going a little bit into the plot based on what we know from basically the trailers. Basically, if you've been paying attention to the lead up to this movie, I'll be talking about how things are relating to the stuff we kind of knew about before going into the movie. And then lastly, of course, we'll be going into the spoilers, but this actually isn't the last point, because after the spoilers, I'll be giving, again, a general overall thoughts of the movie towards the very end that people who don't want to be spoiled will be able to jump to, and I'll put a timestamp on screen, as well as, you know, there'll be timestamps in the description. So pay attention to all of that. It's a big video to take in, because I really want to go in depth with this video, because I want to do one video on it, so that, you know, there's not too many videos, I guess, talking about the movie, because there doesn't need to be. And also, keep in mind that because of the fact that the movie's trailers are so easily copyrighted, it's just going to be a discussion-style video where I talk to you. There's not going to be any trailer clips. There's not going to be anything besides me talking, so hopefully you don't mind that. And this is a relatively off-the-cuff video. I didn't plan anything. I didn't script anything. This is just me spatting out thoughts that are in my head. So I guess that's really it. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. If you do, drop a like, subscribe, all that stuff is super useful. Sorry for the loud car that is going by really loudly outside. Hopefully you didn't hear that. But nonetheless, let's get into the first part of the video, which is my general thoughts. These will be summed up more in detail at the end, without going into spoilers, of course, in the last portion. But this movie, I feel like, will appease Mario fans as well as children. You know, the main thing is, you know, we're seeing a lot online, specifically on, like, Metacritic, that reviewers aren't enjoying this movie, it seems. Or at least it seems to be really mixed and split. You know, the Metacritic score was, like, in the low 50s, I think, the last time I checked. And I feel like that isn't because people are hating on the movie, it's because it's a specific kind of movie. It's a movie for the Mario fans out there. You know, like, it's full of Easter eggs, it's full of lots of really good stuff. It's got a lot of great things going for it. Like I said, if you're a Mario fan, there's so many different references and Easter eggs. It's just chock full of them. It's so dense that you'll have to watch the movie multiple times to catch everything, because I've watched other reviews and other reviewers have mentioned things in the movie that I personally didn't even see. Like, there's so many things packed into this movie that if you've played any Mario game, really, there's going to be at least one thing that you recognize. So there is definitely that. And of course, for the kids, it's a pretty easy movie. The story isn't anything too complicated. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. The characters are entertaining. It's great for kids. So if you're an adult Mario fan, and you've got kids and you want to know if your kids would enjoy this movie, they 100% would, just because it's a simple and fun time. There's lots of comedy, and one thing that I find good about the movie, and that most adults will find, is that the humor isn't very infantile. There's not a singular fart joke in the movie. I kid you not. No fart jokes, no gross humor. There's some stupid humor, but it's a kids movie. Of course it's gonna have stupid humor. There are some jokes that I genuinely found funny. Like, there's some funny humor in the movie. I found it genuinely entertaining. And for people who are concerned about the voice cast, I'll go more specific in the next section, but the voice cast, for the most part, did a genuinely great job. And I'll go specific on this one, Chris Pratt. I think Chris Pratt was probably one of the more standout performances, just because You know, you could tell he had the passion to play Mario. He really was, you know, invested on making this character really good for the fans, and he did a really good job, but that doesn't discount the job that everyone else did. So, generally, everything about this movie is really good. There are some issues I had with it. I think they all come to the one big issue. It's not like a big issue, but the one bigger issue that encapsulates all the smaller issues is that I think this movie's pacing is a bit off. I do think the movie struggles, now, usually when I say a movie has pacing issues, it usually means it's going too slowly, but this movie tends to go really fast. Like, you breeze through a lot of segments, and things are developed in a way to where they don't seem natural just because of how fast the story is moving. Now, for a child, that's completely fine because children don't have, you know, big attention spans, so that kind of stuff doesn't matter to them. So for, you know, if you're bringing your kids, that's not something they're going to care about or even notice. It's for people like who are the adults who were genuinely interested in the Mario movie, where things just kind of happen too fast, and it's like you don't get to appreciate like the subtle things because everything's just going on so fast. Like, there are some, like, you know, subplots within the movie, you know, that are really nice and do add some emotion, which I'll mention in the spoiler bit, but they don't feel as fleshed out as they could be because they are just kind of sped by. They're hardly referenced. They're like mentioned once for like 30 seconds and then brought back later or at the end, and it's supposed to kind of all wrap together and be really nice, but it doesn't have the impact it should just because of the fact that the pacing is really, really fast for this movie. I'd say if they added an extra 15 to maybe 25 minutes to this movie's runtime, it would still be under 2 hours, but that 25 minutes could add so much, you know, just time to let the movie breathe, you know, make it not feel like it has fire under its butt the whole time. Like, just let the movie breathe, let the characters just be natural, let things happen at a steady pace as opposed to feeling rushed. But that is a minor complaint that, like I said, children won't notice. If you're bringing your kids to this movie, they won't notice. It'll be a good time. Don't mind it. I still think it's a great movie. I'll give my overall score at the end, but it's a great movie. So from here, I'm going to go into trailer spoilers, not spoiling anything like that we don't know of from the trailers. If you want to go to the conclusion, here is the time in which it's happening, but it's also in the like, if you use the thing where you move the thing, you'll find it. Just go there now. You gone? Good. Here we go into talking about stuff that we saw in the trailers and that we kind of knew about based on things that have come out. The voice acting, I'm going to jump straight into the voice acting. All the characters, I think, were legitimately good, at least good. There were some characters that I do feel like just could have done a little more, and that's honestly specifically the Kongs. Donkey Kong and Cranky Kong, I feel like their voices didn't quite match what I really imagined for them. Every other character works perfectly. Mario, Luigi, Toad, Peach, Bowser, Kamek, every single one of them worked. Kamek was really, really good, by the way. Like, for being like a non-main character, like a secondary character, Kamek was really good. Like, Kamek's voice was really good, and it fit Kamek's character well. I feel like with Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong, it kind of works, like it has the kind of college dude bro thing, which is what they were going for with Donkey Kong, but I feel like it needed more, like, there needs to be more grumble in his voice, like a little more, like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm a college bro, like, you know, something a little bit of grumble. I don't know what other word to describe other than grumble, but, you know, it just sounds like, yo, dude, I'm Donkey Kong, like, I know that was a horrible impression, but, like, you know, to me, that doesn't work. It needed a little more, almost like texture to the voice. Again, I don't know how to describe other than things that are actually physical descriptions, but that's what I feel like they needed for Donkey Kong. It's not as bad as some people are saying it is, but it leaves a little to be desired. And Cranky Kong, it's not a bad voice. I feel like the only thing I didn't care for is that it didn't sound like an old man at all. It did not, like, Cranky Kong is this old monkey, he's Cranky Kong, you know? he didn't sound old. He sounded like maybe a middle-aged father. Like, not the cranky Kong I expected. The voice stuff wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't something that I was actively like, oh, God, this voice is horrible. But it was something that I was like, he doesn't quite sound his age, really. Like, I mean, like me, my voice just cracked like a 13-year-old, you know? Like, you don't expect it. So I guess maybe I shouldn't say anything. But, you know, like there were certain things like that that just weren't there. And going into certain things like Brooklyn, you know, how the Brooklyn scenes were compared to the Mushroom Kingdom scenes, I actually really like how much they intertwined, you know, or how much of Brooklyn was featured. It wasn't too much, but it wasn't too little. It was enough to just give that little bit of backstory we needed before we went to the Mushroom Kingdom, and, you know, it was just nice. It was a perfect amount of the Mushroom Kingdom to see, perfect amount of Brooklyn to see before we go to the Mushroom Kingdom. And the Mushroom Kingdom is just as beautiful as you'd imagine. Like, seeing it on the big screen is just... it's perfect. It's amazing, and I genuinely really, really enjoyed it. And then, of course, there's, like, Bowser's Kingdom, the Ice Kingdom, Donkey Kong Kingdom, or Kong Kingdom, whatever it's called, like, DK Island. Everything about it was just really, really beautiful visually. It was just eye candy the whole entire time. And, of course, all the references. We know a lot of the references that we saw in the trailers. There's the GameCube ringtone that was in the trailers. Like there's so many little references. Again, I'm not going to talk about any of them really that we haven't seen in trailers until the spoilers. But, God, they were just filled to the brim with different Easter eggs. And the Mario Kart section was really freaking cool. We know of the Mario Kart section from the trailers and how cool it looked in the trailers. But, oh my God, on screen... it was just wild. It was so cool to see some things, like, really visualized, like, on the big screen. And there was one part of the movie that really gave me chills, and this isn't entirely a spoiler, but we all know of the section from the very first trailer when Luigi's wandering through the woods and gets chased by the dry bones. That scene, like, that whole entire scene, like, you know, even outside of what was in the trailers, was just, for me... gave me goosebumps. It really, because it was very much Luigi's Mansion. Luigi wandering around the creepy dark woods with a flashlight, looking for Mario. Like, come on. It was just so cool. I went with my friend Rail Mango, and he said when that, you know, sequence popped up on screen, he was watching me. Just watching me react to that, because it was so Luigi's Mansion, and it was perfect. It was just perfect. But yeah, I mean, like, and look, there's, like, the training montage segment with Mario and Peach. That segment in the movie, honestly, the trailers basically kind of showed off everything. Like, that's the thing, also. If you've seen all the trailers, you know most of the beats of the movie. Like, they don't really hide much. There are some things that they did hide, so there are still some surprises for people, don't worry. But it was just a genuinely really good time. I can't think of anything that was in the trailers that I didn't like. It was all just really solid, really good. I honestly cannot complain. So, now we're going to head on to spoilers. So this is where I'm just going to let loose, talk about everything that I haven't talked about already. So, if you want to skip to the end, again, there's the time. Be sure to go there now. Alright, guessing they're gone, so let's get into spoilers. Oh my God, this movie is something else. I loved the everything that this movie had. The soundtrack and all. The soundtrack had so many references the whole time. I was like my ears were just like, that's Mario 64, that's Mario Galaxy, that's regular Super Mario Brothers, that's Donkey Kong Country, that's Mario, like, that's, literally my ears were having such a sensation during the movie just because of how many different references there were in the movie soundtrack overall. Some people had problems with the non-Mario music, the real-world music, but I didn't have a problem with it because the song choices were solid. There was, the notorious Shrek 2, I Need a Hero song, but that's not the actual name. It's like Hold On to a Hero or something like that. It was well placed, really, really good. There was Take On Me. which, again, pretty solid for when it was used. Like, there wasn't any bad, you know, music usage. Like, it's a cartoon kids movie. It's gonna have that kind of music. So if it's gonna have that kind of music, it was a really solid selection. I didn't mind it at all, honestly. I thankfully haven't seen too many people actually, like, complaining about it, but it was pretty solid overall. The character, let's get into the characters and, like, the actual characters. I think most of the characters were realized in a really good and really cool way. Of course, I do wish we got to see more Luigi, just simply because I love Luigi. He's my favorite character. Actually, now that I'm thinking of Luigi and we're in the spoiler section, King Boo was in the movie, but not the Luigi. This movie has, with the whole Luigi's Mansion movie conversation, there's so many questions I have regarding the future of that, right? We all, if you're in the spoiler section, you saw the movie. We all know the post-credit scene. We all saw it. You know, Yoshi Egg opening. Yoshi's probably going to be like the big theme of the next movie. It's not going to be Luigi's Mansion. But a man can still dream. But King Boo was in the movie. King Boo was there. There's no Boos, but King Boo was there. But it was the generic Mario design of King Boo. It wasn't the one with the big red eyes. And, there's so many. And when Luigi was in the woods, there was no Luigi's Mansion music playing. I really wish there was. I wish there was a Luigi's Mansion remix. I really wish there was. But, I mean, I understand why there wasn't, because it was the Bowser's Castle, like, world. Bowser's World, the underworld, whatever. So, yeah, that was, I don't know. But, I mean, the Luigi's Mansion vibes were so strong with a Luigi. He was literally yelling, Mario, Mario, walking around with his little flashlight, like, oh my god, yes. And the part where he got into the castle, he sat on the stairs, the lightning flash, the Shy Guys and the Sniffets were creepily behind Luigi, fades to black, then Luigi screams, oh, that was so gold. If they make a Luigi's Mansion movie, those, like, 2 minutes of Luigi in the woods was perfection. It was literal perfection of the mood, the atmosphere, Luigi's animations. Everything about that makes me really want a Luigi's Mansion movie. I'm sold. I'm sold. Illumination, you got me. I guess there is a controversy that I've seen. I don't know why this is a controversy. It's about Princess Peach's characterization of how she's like a badass female now, and people are angry at that for some reason. I mean, like, Peach, people are like, but Peach is usually the damsel in distress. That's usually only in, like, the mainline Mario games, really, like the main, like the 2D ones, and only some of the 3D ones. Like, I mean, Sunshine, she was like the one that's like, yo, something's not right here, you're all idiots. I'm seeing this Shadow Mario run around, you guys are dreaming about cake. Like, you know, like, I don't know, Peach is not, like, just an emotionless damsel in distress. And not to mention, right, that this Mario cinematic universe, whatever you want to call it, is different than the games, right? Like, it's doing its own thing, you know, it's establishing its own canon. So they can kind of do whatever they want, so long as they keep the characters somewhat faithful, and Peach is, she's, you know, that'd be like saying, oh, like, how badass she is in Mario Strikers, that's out of character for her. No, it's Mario Strikers. Everyone loves Mario Strikers because of how crazy all the characters are. Like, that's one of the appeals of Mario Strikers. So, I think Peach's characterization is perfect. I do wish she was a little less sarcastic, because so many people are saying, oh, Peach is basically, like, in this movie, Peach is basically Daisy. I don't think that. The only way I'd agree, or the only thing I would agree with that on, is just Peach is really sarcastic. Like, she's a bit quick, she's a bit witty, which I don't associate with Peach. I see Peach as a little more kind-hearted. Like, Peach can still kick butt, but she's a little more, like, lighthearted about it. I don't know how to describe it. But it's not something that took me out of the movie. Like, it's not something that I'm like, oh, this movie's canceled because of that. No. It's just a minor thing. And I just wish, I don't know, like, I wish, like, Mario and Peach's relationship got a little more time in the oven. It seemed just kind of like, all over the place. Like, oh, you have to prove yourself to me. And then literally the next minute, it's like, oh, you prove yourself to me. And it's like, I don't know, there's just not, because of the pacing issues that I mentioned earlier, there wasn't much time for this movie to bake and develop. And it did just cause that issue for me. And same with Mario and Donkey Kong's relationship. I really liked the relationship and the bond that Mario and Donkey Kong formed. And it's actually a really just good nod to their history. Yes, there's the whole thing about Donkey Kong in the arcade games being Cranky Kong, but putting that aside, Mario and Donkey Kong, Mario versus Donkey Kong, like, they have a history of being rivals. Like, they're not going to be friends right off the bat. They have a history, and they started off as rivals and then became friends, even in the games, you know? Like, so it's kind of cool for them to be enemies at first, for them to not like each other at first. It was really a good nod to older Mario. You know, and even the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games, like on the Game Boy Advance and DS, whatever, like, it was a really, really good nod. But it wasn't given enough time to develop, particularly with when they were inside of the eel, and they were bonding over the fact that their fathers thought they were disappointments. That was so lightly glanced over for both of them. Yes, you know, it was a bit of a motivation for Mario to, you know, clean up the big mess that happened in Brooklyn, was his father, you know, saying that he's dragging his brother down. Then they left the dinner table. But it just kind of seemed like that was a one-off statement from his father, not like a history of his father saying it. Like, they could have done a little bit more just to put it in our heads that this is a long-lasting thing between Mario, Luigi, and their father. Like, just to cement that a little bit more, just to make that emotional moment with Donkey Kong hit. Because Donkey Kong kind of did hit, because we did see throughout the movie Donkey Kong and Cranky Kong, they butt heads a lot just because of their different approaches to things. We didn't get to see that with Mario and his father, so that emotional moment inside of the eel didn't hit as much, because I was like, I was thinking, what? And I was like, oh yeah, right, in the beginning of the movie there's this thing, yeah. Like, it was just so glanced over, really made it hard to appreciate it in the moment, but it was a good moment nevertheless. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, of course, the freaking Bowser twist that they actually managed to keep from, you know, the trailers, which is good, is that Bowser's main objective wasn't to take over the Mushroom Kingdom, it was to marry Peach. So it took Mario Odyssey's plot a little bit, and I enjoyed it. It's something that I didn't think would be something done in today's society. Not saying, oh, cancel culture, wokeness, not saying that, but just saying, I don't know, it's just something like I wouldn't have expected to see, but I think they handled it really, really well. I just genuinely liked it, especially with Jack Black's performance as Bowser. It was just genuinely funny. It was genuinely a good time, and his little song he did, the musical number, that a lot of people were scared about, like, oh, this movie's gonna turn into a musical. It was short, you know, it was short and concise, so good on that. But it was also funny. Like, it was a little bit like, it kind of made Bowser less of a threatening villain, made him seem more silly. But he's kind of a silly guy, you know? He's not the most threatening villain in the world. He's no Ganondorf. You know, yeah, there's Fury Bowser in Bowser's Fury. Wow, really, I had trouble. Anyways, yeah, like, Bowser's not a big threat. So seeing him be a little goofy, that doesn't matter, because, especially at the end, he got threatening at the end. And it led to such a good scene where Mario was about to get roasted. And like I mentioned in my Luigi's Mansion movie video last week, Luigi didn't overcome a fear, but he became brave. You know, he stopped cowering in the corner, and he stood and he came out and he helped, and he saved his brother from being roasted. Like, he saved Mario, and that was such a nice moment. That moment hit, because you did see the brotherly love those two had. You did, like, you know, with the flashbacks to, you know, baby Mario and baby Luigi, like you saw that, and that was emphasized throughout the movie. So that moment at the end did hit. and it did warm my heart. I actually nearly did cry in that scene because it was just so nice to see Luigi be able to stand up and say, I don't know, I love that kind of stuff. And it was really cool to see. And then the ending sequence with all of the Mario enemies taking over Brooklyn, it was just real, especially being someone who lives in New York City, it was just a really, really cool thing to see. And the wedding, seeing all the different enemies, you saw King Babam and of course King Boo. I think this is an important time for me to mention. I love the movie's designs of the Mario enemies. The Mario enemies in this movie, they look different in such a cool way. I always loved... I'm one of those people, I don't care for the standard designs of Mario characters. I always like it when the series goes a bit out there and it invents new ways to look at the characters. I'm trying to think of a game that really does this, but I think the best way to describe it is like looking back at renders from like the Nintendo 64 era, you know, where the characters looked a lot different. Even the GameCube era where the characters just had a difference in their design. I feel like this movie was really, really good with that. I mean, King Boo looked different, and I did like how King Boo looked in this movie, even though it wasn't the Luigi's Mansion design. And the bloopers, I really liked how squid-like and just different the bloopers looked in this movie. I don't know how to describe it. They looked super cool. And the Cheep Cheeps, you know, I don't know, just, and the Shy Guys looked really, really cool, because, like, their outfits was all felt. And, like, I don't know, they just looked so cool. Like, every enemy, the Dry Bones, the freaking Dry Bones looked amazing. They were really well designed, and I don't know, just every single enemy, like Mario enemy, even, like, the Yoshis that we saw, right? The 2 seconds that we got to see some Yoshis, they looked really cool. Upon first glance, they actually reminded me a little bit of the Yoshi model, or the Yoshi design from Super Smash Bros. Melee. You guys know what I'm talking about. That's a very unique Yoshi design. But yeah, it was just like every enemy design, and the characters as well, the main characters as well, just look really, really good. And I love the unique approach Illumination has that makes these characters look cool and unique enough to stand on their own without feeling too out there and different. It respects the source material, but is inventive with it. And I really, really like it. I'm trying to think of what other main plot details there are. I mean, there's Kamek and Bowser's relationship. They had a really, really cool, you know, buddy-buddy relationship. Oh, and of course, how could I forget the freaking Luma? Everyone in the theater, including my friend, Rail Manku, who's not much of a Mario guy, he was laughing every time that Luma opened up its mouth. I forgot the name of the Luma, but it was a Luma that was like ready to embrace death, and it was just so fun. Like, the movie had the one thing this movie really did right, honestly, despite its pacing issues, was the tone. Every different part of the movie, the tone just felt right for what it was trying to achieve. The section with Luigi in the woods felt spooky. The section with Luigi, you know, hanging from the you know, prison, you know, with all the other penguins, the Luma, it felt hopeless, but like that Luma added that little bit of comedy to make it just kind of funny and like, you know, something that wasn't too scary at the same time. You know, like seeing all your favorite characters hang over lava, that could, you know, some kids might not enjoy that. So having that Luma to add a little bit of comedy was just gold. It was really, really good. And, you know, with Mario and Peach and Toad on their little adventure, I wish we got to see more of them as a trio. Like, it feels like Toad kind of disappeared after a while. Like, Toad, like, was on the adventure, went to the Kong Kingdom, and you saw him race the cart, but then after the Mario Kart segment, Toad just kind of fell to the side. And it sucked, because I liked Toad. He was a really, really cool character. Keegan-Michael Key did a really good job playing him, and I don't know, kind of sucked. He just kind of disappeared after the Mario Kart segment. It kind of sucked. But yeah, I mean, I guess I might as well now move into the outro segment, so welcome back to those who, you know, were, you know, wanted to miss the spoilers, but overall, I think this movie is really solid. I think it does a lot of great things. It hits the right emotions. It does what it needs to do. People who don't know Mario or anything about Mario and who aren't a child might not find enjoyment in this movie. It's a little bit too fast-paced, you know, you don't get enough time with the characters to truly appreciate them, but of course, if you already know the characters, then you don't need that context. But for people who don't know them, there's not much there. So yeah, it is unfortunate that this movie didn't get like just like 15, 20 more minutes to develop things a little bit more, but I still think it's a really solid movie at the end of the day, and I highly recommend, if you're a Mario fan, if you have a kid, or even if you're just a general video game fan and want a cute little 90-minute romp that doesn't feel like you're like dragging your feet through watching a movie, this movie is really, really good. I think I'm going to give it a score of around 8 out of 10. It just hits all the right beats. It's a perfect Mario movie, and if you have kids, it's a perfect thing to bring them to, and I highly recommend it. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching it. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, all that stuff down below. Hit that notification bell so that you're notified of when I upload videos. And check out the merch store. There's some cool stuff up on there for you to check out. And until next time, you guys, I'll see you all in the next video.